In 5 BC, a Chinese royal astronomer wrote this in the Han Shu, China's official imperial history. A strange star appeared in the east. It stood there for 70 days. He was a government official. He had never heard of Jesus. He had no reason to record anything connected to what was happening in Judea. He was just doing his job. But in December 2025, NASA astronomer Mark Matney published a study in the Journal of the British Astronomical Association, comparing this exact record with the Star of Bethlehem described in the Gospel of Matthew. The alignment is striking. That's number 1 on this list. I'm going to show you 4 more before we get back to it. I'm Chinese, born in Australia, Cantonese on both sides, and I went into my own culture's history, not looking for this, but I kept finding it anyway. China's official records, kept by emperors who had never met a Christian, keep lining up with events described in Christian scripture 5 separate times. I'm not here to preach, I'm here to show you what the records actually say. Number 5, starting with the most controversial one. The Chinese character for boat is made up of 3 smaller characters: vessel, 8, and mouth. Some researchers argue that in ancient Chinese, the word for mouth was sometimes used to represent people, not just the word mouth. If that's true, the character for boat contains a vessel, 8 people, meaning 8 people on a vessel. The Bible records exactly 8 survivors of Noah's flood. The original researcher, Dr. C.H. Kang, believed that this was deliberate. His co-author later walked back parts of that claim, and mainstream linguists mostly reject it. Now, I'm not telling you this proves anything, but here's what does make it interesting. Chinese writing is among the oldest in the world. If those characters were encoding a memory of a flood with 8 survivors, they were doing it long before any Chinese scholar had access to a Bible. Now make of that what you will. Number 4. This one has almost no controversy. 3,500 years ago, in the Shang dynasty, Chinese emperors were worshipping a god called Shangdi, the supreme emperor of heaven. No idols, no statues. One supreme deity above all others. Every year, the emperor would sacrifice an unblemished bull on a sacred altar and present it to Shangdi. This tradition lasted for thousands of years. It's the same ceremony behind the Temple of Heaven, still standing in Beijing today. An unblemished sacrifice on an altar to a single all-powerful deity. When Jesuit missionaries arrived in China in the 1600s, they were stunned. The practices were so close to Old Testament worship that they believed Shangdi and the God of the Bible were the same being. Chinese Christians still use that word today. When they say God, they say Shangdi. That name is 3,500 years old. Christianity in China is not even 1,400 years old. Someone in China was worshipping one supreme deity 2,000 years before a Chinese person ever even read a Bible. That's the God described in the Old Testament. But what about Jesus himself, the New Testament? Turns out China's records have something to say about that too. Number 3. In 1900, a Taoist monk doing renovations at the Mogao caves in Dunhuang broke through a wall. Inside, a sealed room, 40,000 manuscripts hidden for over 900 years. Among them were Christian documents in Chinese, written by Chinese monks in the 7th century, somewhere along the Silk Road. One of them describes the life and death of Jesus in terms recognizable from the Gospels, except written in classical Chinese, inside a desert cave by converts who had adopted Christianity through the Nestorian church, spreading east out of Persia. They called it Jingjiao, the luminous region. The cave was sealed around 1000 AD, and nobody knows exactly why. When it was found, those documents were perfectly preserved. A 1,000-year-old Chinese account of Jesus sitting behind a wall. And this is where those monks came from. In 1625, construction workers in Xi'an dug up a limestone slab 9 feet tall, covered in Chinese and Syriac text, carved in 781 AD. It's called the Nestorian Stele, and it records in precise historical detail the arrival of Christianity in China in 635 AD, during the reign of Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty. The emperor welcomed a Christian monk named Alopen. He read the text himself. He approved them. He ordered Christian scriptures translated into Chinese and permitted them to be spread across the empire. This is not a Christian document. This is an official Chinese imperial monument commissioned by the state, recording an encounter between one of China's greatest dynasties and the story of Jesus. 9 feet of limestone in Xi'an, not Jerusalem, not Rome, Xi'an. And back to number 1, the Han Shu is China's official dynastic history. In it, royal astronomers recorded what they called a broom star, a comet, appearing in the east in 5 BC. It stood in the same position for 70 days. Matthew 2 says the star stood over the whole place where Jesus was born. Astronomers have debated what that means for centuries. Most stars don't stand still. They move across the sky, but a comet or stationary nova can appear fixed in one position for weeks. The Han Shu record, east, stationary, 5 BC. The estimated birth window for Jesus, 6 to 4 BC. Mark Matney and NASA ran the comparison, published December 2025. The timing, the position, and the behavior all align with the Star of Bethlehem. China's government historians with no connection to Judea, no knowledge of the Gospels, no religious motivation, documented an astronomical event that lines up with the Star of Bethlehem almost exactly. That's not a convert. That's not a believer trying to make something fit. That's a bureaucrat with a job to do. I went into my own culture's history thinking I knew what I'd find. I didn't find this. Whether it changes anything for you, that's your call. But 5 separate pieces of evidence across thousands of years of Chinese history kept pointing at the same story. That's not nothing. If you want more history that nobody taught you, make sure to like and subscribe, because this is what I do.